This podcast is sponsored by BB Mates, a family-run personalised gift company. From sports bottles to team merchandise, BB Mates has you covered. They will happily work with you to create unique designs for your perfect gift, with a wide range of products, all able to be personalised with names, quotes, pictures and much more. Head over to bbmates.com. That's www.bebemates.com and use the code COIS so they know that we sent you. Oh, and of course, come on you Spurs.
Welcome to the Spurs News Podcast, your home for all things Tottenham Hotspur. Now, here are your hosts.
Hello everybody and welcome to the Spurs News Podcast, episode 251. The march towards the 500th episode mark begins today. Will we ever get there? Who knows? Who knows? I am Sam, joining me, co-hosting the show, writing the ship, being here, listening to me rabbit on every week. It's Stefan!
Hey buddy. God, yeah, 500, that's a fair way away, isn't it? When you started this,
Well, it's about
6 years?
Yeah, it's about the same episodes we've just done, but again. Yeah,
I know. Wow.
roughly,
Yeah, that's
roughly,
a fair point. Yeah.
roughly. I mean,
One
I'm
less.
not sure of the exact math, but I think it's about that. Yeah. Welcome to the Spurs News Podcast. Now today, I'm going to start the day with a little message. So, I on this show and in life in general complain quite often that social media can be a bit of a cesspool. I myself personally quit Facebook, Instagram and social media like that a long time ago in a personal sense. And although initially there were sort of reasons at the time, I've not missed it. So I'm quite happy to be away from it. But when it comes to like Tottenham Twitter, for example, and I will refuse to call it X, it can be a bit draining. But I think that's the app in general. It can just be a very toxic place. So we've talked about it a lot. We talk about the comments, and at some point during this show, no doubt, I'll bring it back to this. But what I want to start today was that every now and again, there can be something nice. There can be something sort of heartwarming or something like that. And today, I'm going to dedicate this podcast to a Spurs fan, a lady called Ellie. Ellie, I hope you're listening. Ellie is currently in hospital. She's undergone various operations. She's going to be in hospital for a number of weeks. She's a Spurs fan, part of the Spurs Twitter community, and she put an appeal out for pen pals, people to write to her at the hospital, and the hospital gave her a set address that people could write to her just to try and help her pass the time, help with her recovery, to talk about anything to do with your life, anything to do with, Tottenham, from all around the world, wherever you are. And I saw this post get shared, and people from all over the football spectrum, not just Tottenham fans, started seeing it and saying, hey, I'll write to you and tell you how good my club is and stuff like that. Which, given I'm someone who spent some time in hospital, very unwell, I know the impact that can make on you as a person. So this show is dedicated to Ellie. Anyone who's listening who's not seen this post or seen this shared and you'd like to have the address wherever you are in the world, perhaps you'd like to send something to her, then get in touch with me at the podcast. It's sam@spursnews.co.uk and I'll send you the details. But yeah, so Ellie, if you're listening, get well soon, and all of Tottenham and all of the football community, it seems, are with you. So there you go. That was a nice thing.
That's brilliant. I like that. Things like that I like. That's very good. I hope she gets better soon, and it's nice to see people actually, a bit of faith in humanity restored slightly,
Yeah. No, it doesn't last long. I think the very next thing I saw on Twitter was someone on a moped stealing mobile phones off people in London.
Yeah, sounds
so,
right. Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah. So, it swings and roundabouts. Lovely moment, trash. Yes. So, anyway, we've got a lot to talk about, like always on our show, and because of that, I'm going to waffle on about nonsense at various points and make the show a lot longer than it probably could have been.
This is what we do. We tangent. That's,
We do. I have been reliably informed by someone who's emailed in. His name's Mark. Hello, Mark. Mark has only been listening for a few weeks. And Mark said the very first show he listened to, he saw a post on Facebook get shared, and the person who shared it said, "Oh, if you've not listened to this idiot, you should." Now, I don't know whether that person sharing that was being nice, or whether that was they genuinely think I'm an idiot. Could little from column A, little
don't know
from
where to go
column
with
B.
that one. Really, that's a bit of one of those.
You should
thank you
listen
very
to
much,
this idiot.
and at the same time, screw you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I decided, because I'm in a positive frame of mind, that was charming, and that person gets the humour of the show, and therefore he's an idiot. He's funny. That's good. That's the way I've read it. When I'm in a dark place later drinking alone, I might not see it the funny side.
Fair play.
And the tone shifts.
That was
Yeah. Whoa. Don't worry, I'm not listening to Coldplay yet. So the Mark emailed in and basically said, like, I listened to like the first show. I have no idea what was going on. I just thought, this is so random. Like, at one point you were talking about like something not to do with football for at least 10-15 minutes, and then suddenly remembered you were supposed to be talking about Tottenham. And I was like, yeah, that sounds like us.
That makes it very hard to narrow down what was his first podcast was.
Oh, yeah. No, it's impossible. Like, I genuinely thought, like, he wrote that, and I was like, oh, tell me what episode that was. And I was like, well, it could have been any. It really could have been. So he then said, like, I've listened a few weeks now, and I finally, like, I understand your humour. And then he paid me, like, a really big compliment, because he said, oh, I quite like listening to, like, Chris Moyle's radio and stuff, and I think you have a similar styling of just kind of talking randomly. And I was like, oh, I like that. He was probably one of my favourite DJs, so I felt quite honoured.
I used to actually do radio presenting, as you know, back when I was much younger.
Yes.
So this is now the second time in my life that I have been compared to that show, so I am happy with that.
That's good.
I'm happy with
I like that. Yeah. Okay then. So thank you to everybody for listening. If you're here all the time, you get what we're doing. You get the humour of it all. Thank you for sticking with us. If you are new, welcome. Please give us a chance and get yourself a bit like a cult. You need to like really, drink the wine, get involved, stay for a few weeks, and you'll never want to leave.
You'll
That's
understand,
the rules.
yeah.
Someone asked me, because obviously we got to episode 250, and I did a little tweet about it, which no one read, but that's fine. And then I someone messaged and sort of said, oh, wow, fair play, 250 episodes. If you don't mind me asking, how many people like you listen? I said, well, it varies, like a lot, like really a lot. Like we've had like when there's been like some good games done well. You're talking 3,000 people, which is wonderful for us. I know this is never going to be like this megalithic podcast, and that's fine. And I'm delighted with that. And then like the average kind of game, anywhere between 500 and 1,000. If we've been really crap, like 300 and something. It's just, and they're the people I call hardcore. They're kind of like ride or die. No matter what, I'm going to inflict this upon myself. I need the therapy session after a bad defeat. Whereas other people, I think, and I do get this kind of like, do you know what? I am so mad right now. I don't want to think about Tottenham. I don't want to hear about Tottenham. I don't want to see Tottenham. And I've been there, and then I've had to record the show. It's kind of like, hi everyone, this is the Spurs News podcast.
This is us once again.
Yeah,
throwing it away. Yeah,
back once again.
I understand
But the funny thing is every now and again we'll get a week which is a little bit of a mixed bag, where you've got an incredible result, then a not so good result. So this week we played Aston Villa at the weekend, last weekend. A game of two halves, Jimmy. We played well in the first half. I think we were doing okay. It was 1-1 at half time. They took the lead. Like predictably, that's what happens. This is how we play, mate. It would seem. Where was your head at? Because I mean, we've not been. I mean, maybe you'll disagree with me, but I didn't think we were playing badly. I don't think we were playing great, but I don't think we were playing badly. And then went 1-0 down, and I just had that, because the way Aston Villa were defending was very much like, we're here to sneak a goal and give nothing away. And it was kind of like, oh, this is just going to be like 1-0 or 2-0 to them, and it's just going to drive
I was
me insane.
getting horrible PTSD from the Crystal Palace result. I was like, they've got the goal and that's it now. We're just not going to find a way to break them down. It's just going to be...
We weren't playing as badly, though.
No, we were playing better as a team, but I was just kind of like, it's going to be one of those games where no matter what we do, we're not going to break them down. And it's going to be a 1-0. We're going to have like 55 minutes of Spurs getting the ball around the box, but not actually being able to get into the box for a shot.
Like
so
80, Tottenham have 90% possession. It's
then half time happened.
So I mean it was an interesting. Now the Aston Villa game, of course, for us on the Spurs News podcast is known as the Laura Derby. Now, for anyone who doesn't know, there's 4 of us involved with Spurs News now. 5 if you include Matt as an honorary member who will return. But it's me, Stefan, here on the podcast. You got Polynesian Dan, who don't really do anything, but he's a really big guy, and we're all scared of him. So
he's very active on the WhatsApp, and that's about it.
Yeah. And then you've got lovely Laura, who runs the Instagram. Lovely Laura got married 2 weeks ago now, I think. Yeah, the week before Aston Villa, so around now 2 weeks ago. And her husband, her now husband, is an Aston Villa fan.
I thought you were going to say a lucky bloke, but okay. Yeah, Aston Villa fan.
Oh, God, no. No, I mean, he's about to find out. So far, she's been, like, really nice.
Now they're married.
Now, no. Yeah, all that niceness is gone, mate. So you'll find out the real Laura now. But yeah, so... I call it the Laura Derby. It was, I think after 1 week of marriage, it was a great test for them. And I think at half time, with it being 1-1, maybe both of them would have been like, oh, if it stays a draw, okay.
We can talk about the game and not have to worry too much. Yeah.
There's not going to be a problem. As it was, lovely Laura got to have a big smile on her face and, just say things like, oh, never mind. Ooh,
it's only a game.
Yeah, it's only a game. Now you're getting worked up, aren't you? Whereas the rest of us got to watch that second half. That's
the worst thing you can say to someone. Well, you're getting a bit worked up, aren't you?
Yeah, I saw... There's because I'm young, hip, and cool, I'm on TikTok, and on TikTok there's a guy who's got an account called dating tips, marriage tips for men, and one of them's like, and it's all parody. So one of them's like, oh, if you're ever in an argument with a woman, and she's getting really irate and everything, just tell her to calm down. They love that. And I watched that video, and I was like, ooh. And then there was like another one like, oh, next time your significant other is shouting at you, just say, yo, don't you look like your mum when you're angry? They love that. It's like, oh my God, okay.
How many people have died thanks to that?
Yeah. When your significant other is screaming at you, put a cape around them and say, now you're super angry. That will lighten the mood. They love that. I'm like, no.
Amazing.
No, dead and deceased. So Laura, the first week of marriage, they survived this game. That's good. So she's obviously not as horrible as me. I'd have been an absolute dancing idiot in front of their face. Like, my team whooped yours. What? So yeah, and there's a reason I have no one. So and we're back to the dark place again.
I mean, we don't know Laura didn't do that. She just didn't admit to it.
Well, she might have done it topless, and therefore it negates it.
Oh,
that works. Yeah, that works. Because, like, as a guy, that just means, like, I'm so angry. Oh, boobs. Oh, lovely. Why was I angry? I don't remember. And and that works. So yeah, that's a possibility. But yeah, in the second half, I was as impressed with Ange Ball football as I have been in any game where we've played well. I think for 2 reasons. One, going into it, we'd had a bit of a bad result before.
Yeah.
Didn't play well, and in the first half, you could easily at half time feel really, like we're not getting anywhere. This is driving me insane. You could have become very frustrated, and the second half could have just been like a continuation. I'd love to know what Ange said at halftime. The general statements from players appears to be, we're doing everything right, and we are going to create space to keep going. That appears to have been the message. I reckon there would have been more F-bombs in there.
I reckon he probably dropped a few. I would hope.
You would hope. You'd hope. No. So this is an interesting thing about me and you and managers. Like, you get quite annoyed that he just seems to stand there not doing anything on the sidelines.
Yeah, he stands there, hands in his pockets, just kind of watching, and occasionally he shakes his head, and I'm like, no, throttle the bastard. Just what are you doing?
It's interesting because, like, we'll circle back to that in a minute because we got different views on that, but I totally see your point of view, which is just. Actually, we'll do it now. I genuinely think that a lot of that, when you see managers going mental in the sidelines, jumping around, gestating, shouting at people, is for the cameras.
It's just for show. Yeah,
and for the fans.
It really is.
And it's kind of amusing because, again, look, I never played to a level or anything, but I played rugby and to a point where there were crowds, etc. there. And I remember once playing, and we had this coach who was just a gobby little shit. He used to be a scrum half for anyone who's rugby orientated. As soon as I say that, you'll understand what he was. And he was one of those that was just like all the time pointing, shouting, and stuff like that. And he said after a game once in like a team talk, like, did no one what? And one of the giant men who was in this team that I was playing in just turned around to him and went, yeah, we can hear you yapping, but it's a bit like listening to an annoying dog, so we just tune you out. and I just remember thinking at the time, like, yeah, like, you're on the pitch, you're in the game, and like every now and again, like looking across and seeing someone jump up and down, you're like, all right, you come here and try and win the ball back when there's like 8 guys who are over 6'8" trying to murder you to get it. Like, it's easy. Like, I'm trying. So often when I see this, like, and I'll tell you what was interesting was during COVID. During COVID, with no one in the stadiums, you could hear the shouts and stuff.
Oh my God, yeah.
And what made me laugh is, like, when you're watching on TV and there's a huge crowd and you're seeing this manager shouting, and you're like, oh, well, he's trying to motivate the players. And then, like, you go there and it sounded like Sunday League. Man on! You're like, what? What are you doing? It's like, you really shouting that? You're paid how much per week, and you're basically shouting the same as some guy's dad on a Sunday. It was funny.
Pass the fucking ball!
Yeah.
Well, obviously.
Yeah. I mean, stop fucking playing it back's probably my Ange's favourite shout I've ever heard from a football manager ever. So it's interesting because he does yell, he does bellow every now and again. The guy after every match sounds like he's completely lost his voice. However, during the game when a camera hits him, I don't know whether he knows, but he's just like stoic. I'm cool.
Yeah,
I'm cool.
He's got like a little tell or someone that someone says to him now, and he just goes hands in pocket.
Yeah, it's just funny because you just it. But we do have a couple of people I know that have got seats not far behind the dugout, and I think they'll attest to the fact he is quite vocal if he needs to be. But there was a guy once who was just basically he'd message us every week just like, oh, this is what Ange said this week, and I used to just crack up. Amazing. Like, some of it was just hilarious. Like,
if you're listening and you still have that seat, start that again.
Yeah. Ryan, I think, is not far from there. One of our listeners, Ryan.
Yeah,
Miller,
Ryan's close behind the bench.
Yeah. So Ryan, that can be your new job. You can become our Ange shout correspondent. We want to know. We want to know the highlights. Makes me
laugh because he knows my feelings towards Richarlison. So every home game, he sends me a picture of Richarlison.
Okay.
I think he does it just to upset me.
What? Why do you hate Richarlison?
I don't hate Richard. We just know that when he joined, I wasn't his biggest fan.
Yeah.
I admitted, hands up, when he was fit and he found form for us last season, he was a game changer.
Yeah.
I just get very frustrated with him.
Okay.
Like the West Ham game where people were getting hands in faces and being shoved, and then the wind changed direction and he threw himself on the floor. Things like that annoy me.
Okay.
But Ryan
in that,
found it funny, so he started sending me pictures every match of Richarlison.
Okay. Well, yeah, all right. That's a debate we've had before. We'll leave it. When it comes to the Aston Villa game, like I said, the second half, I was delighted. I think once we once we got our second goal, I mean, I know they kind of came quite quick fire then. I felt like, so we went 2-1, I felt like we were going to go 3-1 more than it was going to go 2-2, which I'm really delighted with, because too often our mentality seems to be to ease off. But something, again, the players said is like half time, and they all know, is that if they score one, because of the way they play, they can score three really quickly. So I was delighted. I mean, hearing the fans sing "Are you West Ham in disguise" cracked me up.
Oh, that's always a fun chant. Yep.
To Aston Villa, especially considering the kit similarity. Like when I was a kid, that used to just confuse the shit out of me. So that cracked me up. I enjoyed that. But yeah, overall, I thought the Aston Villa game was fantastic. I thought, considering that is a rival in the kind of places in the league where we want to be, it was an impressive victory. A bit of a statement victory. Now, what I will say, and I think this is important, is we now play Ipswich, and that Aston Villa game means dick if we don't then beat Ipswich.
100%.
And that is the frustrating thing for me so far this season, is that we've had a few good results, but then we've not backed it up. I know we had a run of successive wins, and if you look at those games, that was good, but too often there's like, oh, good, oh, no, that was shite. Oh, that was good, oh, that was shite.
Consistency does seem to be a bit of an issue.
Oh, yeah, we're consistently inconsistent, without a doubt. Was there anything else from the Villa game that you wanted to kind of highlight?
I don't think so.
I mean, the Solanke double was good.
I'm very impressed, actually. Solanke, I can talk about Solanke in this match or in the next match we talk about. The difference it makes to have a player who is what I used to call like the fox in the box sort of thing. If the ball is loose in the area, or a goalkeeper saves the ball and parries it sort of thing, we now have a striker who you would put money on being in the right place at the right time, attacking that, following someone has a shot from the edge of the area. Yeah. We now have a player who is literally like right behind that ball the whole way. So if the keeper spills it, it's going to be a goal. And I think that makes a massive difference. And the other thing I'll say is I don't know if he's getting the full amount of credit he deserves for his pressing play. He must be a defender's absolute worst nightmare.
Yeah.
But he is so good.
I remember when we were looking at signing him, and a few people shared the stats of him, like his turnovers in the final third and stuff like that. And it was like, okay, if you go purely data-driven, him as a signing for Ange makes perfect sense. And I think I said this on the show at the time.
Yeah.
I said, but as an individual, it's just a player I've never looked at and thought, oh yeah, that's a player I'd like to sign. And I'm going to hold my hands up. Yes, the data was correct. He does fit the Ange system. But also, it's just to see someone work that hard in the shirt, to see someone, but not only have that work rate, but also have the ability that he has. Like, with the finish against Galatasaray was just pure instinct. Striker is confident, didn't get that. And then you've got the way he finished the first goal against Villa was an incredible finish, and the second one, to be there, you had to work so hard and just positioning like you said. So it is, to me, he's completely kind of blown me away. I mean, it goes without saying he's the best English striker this club's ever had. Without a shadow of a doubt.
I'm not saying anything. Nope.
No. Everyone knows I'm joking. Jimmy Greaves was amazing. So so that was the Laura Derby. Victory for Tottenham in the Laura Derby. I'm delighted for her, delighted for all of us. And now we move the podcast to questions sent in from social media.
Now it's time for your comments from our social media.
Okay, so I don't think we've had anything on Instagram. I did check with lovely Laura, but she's ignored me. I think maybe I'm blocked. she's still doing that dance. But we did get some stuff in from Facebook, so let's go there. First of all, Cliff Church, hello sir, has sent in, hi guys, as usual, I thoroughly enjoyed the podcast. And by the way, when you send in a message telling us how great we are, gets you like right to the top of the list. After reading, and bribes too. After reading Ange Ball, do you think Ange can win something, or will the fan base want him gone? Great question to kick off. It is, to me, it's an interesting debate, because Ange, every club he's been at, he's been successful, and every club he's been at has not been successful, or having a period of not success when he's arrived. So, like, each club, if you actually track this, were either teams that hadn't won stuff, so he's had to come in, build, or rebuild, stuff. So when he went into Celtic, which is the example most people know, Celtic had just, for the first time in I don't know how long, not won anything.
It's like 47
Rangers,
years,
Rangers came up and like took everything, and they'd lost their manager, their star players, the squad was all over the place, and it needed like a complete overhaul. And he came in, to fan mockery. Who is this guy? It was a real work from day one against a backdrop of, this is a joke, isn't it? Who the hell have we appointed? Some Aussie.
Yeah, Australians know cricket and rugby. What you're doing in football was one of the...
Yeah, I mean, it was insane. So everybody knows he then took them to consecutive, basically trophy-laden beyond belief. Now, winning trophies in Scotland at Celtic or Rangers isn't the same as winning something down in the Premier League. I know that. But if he came in and was appointed the manager of Man City, you'd probably be seeing the same thing. But he's come in at Tottenham, a club that, again, great history, not been winning anything for a long time, and a squad that was absolutely all over the place. I've described it before, and I'll say it again, as a hodgepodge of failed managers' broken dreams, which I read somewhere, and I'm stealing it. I
like that. It's a good line.
It's a great line. So whoever said that's good. Hey, I said that. It's tough shit. I said it now. Not on microphone. So that's what it was, and he has systematically been changing the whole dynamic of the club and how we play, changing the squad into one that can play this way gradually, because you can't do it in one window. I know all of us are like, I play Football Manager, I did it in a week. But no, in real life, there's more to it. Like, what the hell's this guy? I signed 31 players in a day once. Come on, get it together. So yeah, it's a gradual process, and every window, I'm gonna say every window I feel we've improved under Ange, in terms of the squad, and the way to improve the squad is to improve the first 11 every time, and we've done that, in my opinion. So we now have this situation with Ange where I am seeing Ange out. I am seeing people despondent. I'm seeing people make comparisons to him and managers who haven't done well. And it is tricky. Like, this season isn't like all glory. Oh, second season, look at us dominating everything. It's not that. There are performances currently which are just head scratchers.
Yeah.
And so he is getting levered. And I think the difference between Tottenham and every club he's been at to date, and I'm going to say Celtic in this as well, but I will put a little asterisk next to it, which is he's come in at a time where they've got no expectation of victory, or have an expectation of it's going to take us a minute to fix. And Celtic fans, I think, were very dismissive of him, but once they saw the direction, once they saw that, they all jumped on board, and then they were winning stuff, which again, no disrespect, but in Scotland, when you're with Celtic, if you're playing well, you're going to win most of the games. When you come down to Tottenham, the issue is, and I'm going to say this knowing our fan base the way I do, we have an overinflated expectation of our club. Why that is, I'm not entirely sure. Now, that's not to say we shouldn't demand better, we shouldn't demand victory, we shouldn't demand success. We do. But I think there is a entitlement amongst a lot of our fan base that shouldn't exist. Like, Ange has come in and he is having to correct all of these things. He's having to work so hard behind the scenes, and I've got an insight from various people about the differences behind the scenes and the structure that is there that he's working within, and how he's working, the amount of work he's doing with the academy stuff, the amount of work he's doing. So he is relentless in what he's trying to do. So I don't think it'd be through lack of effort on his part that the club aren't successful. I think this guy is giving everything to make it successful. He also is about not just creating a one-off bit of success. So I had this debate the other day, and I want to put this to you. Like, when Jose Mourinho came into the side, Jose Mourinho put all of his focus once to try and win a trophy.
Yeah.
In Jose Mourinho's mind, winning that League Cup, which he could have done, to him, not only would have triggered a nice cash bonus in his contract, but also would have meant that he was the guy that won a trophy for Tottenham. And there's an element of ego around Jose, which means that he would have just liked that. And everybody knows it. Like, if for example, he'd still been a manager for the League Cup and we'd won it, and then at the end of the season, we'd gone, look, I don't think it's worked out with you, Jose. And he'd gone, yeah, okay, pay me off, I'm off.
Yeah.
You know that whatever club he was at next, every press conference, he would be like, I'm so freaking good, I even won a trophy at Tottenham. Because it was about him. And there's a lot of debate about whether he should have been sacked when he was. I felt he was becoming toxic and awful, and I didn't enjoy the football, so him being sacked was okay. When he was sacked, I think I think it was a horrific indictment of the football club and their want of success or not success. It was awful. Like, it was really awful. Like, there's stuff to that which bothers me, but that's in the past. So my point about bringing that up though was winning a trophy under Jose was about Jose, not about Tottenham. Winning a trophy under Conte would have been about Conte, not about Tottenham, which is sad, but I think everyone knows what I mean by that. Whereas Ange is very much about, we need to build this and get it to a point where we're competitive and all, a bit like what Pochettino did with us. Because if we're competitive for all, then we can win stuff, and then that's where we want to be. So to me, it's I'm trying to work out what I'm trying to say. It just, I don't know is the answer to the question. I don't know if our fan base will give him enough time. I think the fans in the stadium are definitely behind him. I think the social media fans would turn on anyone, and I think the club needs to ignore social media fans until, like, Nuno was berated from minute one he was appointed online. It took the fans screaming in the stadium, you don't know what you're doing, for them to fire him.
Yep.
I think as long as the fans, match-going fans, are continuing to go, continuing to back him because they see what's happening on the pitch, he's okay. I think social media idiots can run their mouths as much as they like. And I put myself in that bracket, I guess, because I'm a social media idiot as a podcaster. But it just... The thing is, and I'm just going to go round on social media now. You know this, and I think people listening know this. Arsenal Fan TV proved the concept of making money out of negativity.
Yeah.
Arsenal Fan TV, whatever their intention was when they started it, all the guys behind it became famous. I mean, for God's sake, they hosted the Prime Minister as a guest not that long ago. They became famous and became wealthy off of Arsenal having a very poor few seasons by their standards. Because every time Arsenal lost, it became a thing. # Arsenal Fan TV and chill. For every team. Like, it wasn't just Tottenham fans watching it laughing. It was it was trending number one on Twitter every time they lost. Arsenal Fan TV.
Yeah,
so
it was everywhere, because it was like, that was like, that was almost as much to watch as going to watch Match of the Day.
Yeah.
Like,
it was they monetized people's despair, monetized anger, monetized the disappointment, monetized it. So unfortunately, so many people saw that, and so many people now think that is what fandom is. So you will hear podcasts, you will see YouTubers and media people and tweets and everything that is just negative as hell to monetize people's anger. Like, you go on Twitter now and you get yourself a blue tick and you pay for it, you can earn money from interactions. Do you think if you tweet, that was a bad result today, but I trust Ange and we're going to come back, we'll get as many interactions as Ange out, I'm fed up with this Aussie bastard, what kind of football are we playing? People are going to react to that and you're going to make money.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, that's what I'm seeing on social media now. It's not about real opinion or real discussion. Yesterday I put something out about a topic with regards to Hugo Lloris, which we'll come on to in a minute. And someone fired back and I answered and he went, oh yeah, good point. And it's like, wow, that's I don't remember the last time I had an interaction with someone online. It was like,
are you an AI bot?
Yeah,
what just happened?
Yeah. It's like, okay, that was confusing. So honestly, to answer that question, I don't know. I mean, I know I want us to see the project through. There's a word. And I'm certainly backing him because there's two factors for me. One is I do believe in the style of football he wants to play, and I do believe in it. Genuinely, I do. And I think as the squad evolves, we will improve. Because right now, perfect example is the Galatasaray game. When the players who can play Ange ball came on, or play it to the standard we want to be playing it, the game changed to a certain extent. And there are players still within the squad who aren't able to play Ange ball, and that needs to change. Like, that still needs to be a continuation, a constant bit of work.
Yeah.
And that will come. That it's just non-stop work to get there. So, but yeah, I want us to give him the opportunity to win something because I believe he would, but I honestly don't know because football's a weird thing and Daniel Levy loves firing managers, even the week of a cup final. Do you have anything to add to that, mate, before we move on?
No, I think you've covered that, I think.
Okay, the next one's from Michael Jasperanis. Michael has two things. He says, I'm getting my question in early this week. I enjoyed your last answer. See, flattery. Flattery gets you.
It works. It does work.
In honor of bonfire night, what type of firework would each player be? Richarlison, unfortunately, is like those that fire lots of rockets in a short burst, and just when you start liking it, they're done. That's kind of funny. In honor of bonfire night, what type of firework would each player be? Okay, so let's just pick one player each and make a firework analogy.
Okay.
If you
go
can.
on, you go first.
Oh no, that's not fair. I just did loads of talking. You go first. Is it because you don't have one?
Okay, I have one.
Okay, go on.
Kulusevski.
Yeah.
He's a Catherine wheel.
I was going to go Catherine Wheel. It's the only firework I could think of.
Oh, sorry. He's a Catherine wheel because he's
so
all out.
Yeah,
oh, look at that! Look how good that was! Oh, look at that! Wow! Like that. Yeah, Kulusevski. I think the Richarlison one was quite funny.
Yeah, I don't think I can top that. I think Catherine won that. Yeah, that's good. Michael also says, I didn't see the game last night.
Romero's a really, really big, explosive, aggressive one. Yeah.
Okay, so Romero is the one you've lit and you're not sure if it's going to go or not, and you don't know whether you should ever go back to it. There you go.
Yes.
Never go back to a lit fire, but you're like, but it's not gone off, and I lit it. What do I do? That's what Romero is, because at any moment you know that thing could fucking explode. Yeah, so there you go. That was my one. Well done. Michael asks, was the Galatasaray game really as bad as social media makes out? We're going to come on to that, mate, so we'll answer that. So, other questions is Chris, Christopher Chris, I'm still messing up your surname. I'm sorry. I'm from Bristol. It's my own accent. He says, what's better? Papa Matassar or sliced bread? A Papa Matassar sandwich, my friend. Put them together. No.
I mean, Papa Matassar is the best thing since sliced bread, so I guess that means Papa is now better.
Correct. The only answer that suits. Tom Perks says, what a time to be a Spurs fan, eh, lads? Should we be building this team around Sarr? He really is that damn good. Why Sarr's getting some love this week. I think there's several players in this team that you look at and go, let's build around. But yeah, no, Sarr's very good, and I think his form right now is exceptional. Finally, we have a question from Barry Fowles. Barry, I'm going to read this, by the way, just word for word. Barry says, following Stefan's team sacking their manager, it got me thinking, should managers be limited to only being changed in transfer windows?
Do you know what? That took me a second. I was like, manager sacked my team? What? Then I got it. Yeah. Okay. Well done, Barry. Very funny.
Did you not? Did you forget that you're a Man United fan?
I did. For a second, I forgot I was a Man United fan. I was like, West Ham haven't sacked their manager? I don't understand.
There we go. I've got it. Everyone, I've got it on record. You all heard it.
I just feel like now I just need to play into it more. As we know, I listen to Talkshite Radio. They actually had a debate about this, about the whole transfer window manager thing. So I wonder if that's where he listened and got it. I don't know. I think it's really interesting, actually, because if you've got players that are just absolute, don't fit the system, not doing what they need to do, you are stuck with them until you get to a transfer window, and then you've got to try and sell them.
Yeah.
Or you really bite the bucket and release them on a free, but there's clauses and stuff in that. Managers, on the other hand, it's an interesting one because looking at the table at the moment, you've got 3 managers at the moment that are all being told kind of, you win your next couple of games, you're in trouble. Southampton, West Ham, and Wolves.
Yeah.
Now they could all lose their managers in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah, at the same time, the blame can only ever be partly on the manager because the players are still the ones going out there performing.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
However, as an actual transfer window, can you imagine just the absolute chaos? And at the same time, if that means you have to buy a manager, how much would a manager, let's just say Pep Guardiola, how much money is a manager worth?
Well, in theory, you do have to buy a manager.
The compensation
because
stuff,
if they're under contract, you've got to buy them out of that contract.
I think Man U spent 18 million or something to get
exactly
a manager and staff in.
Yeah, so it is for me. I don't think it could work like that, and the main reason being, the points you were just making then are really valid, which is, a manager is part of the equation, the players are part of the equation. Why is it the manager can get fired at any point, but the players, literally, you're stuck with them? You only got to look at the same team for Man United, the same players in the same setup, but with a different person in charge, are now winning games.
Yeah.
And playing well. And the impact is down to the individual. So all of us, everyone listening now, has done a job at some point in their lives where their boss is a dick. And you don't like that person. And you're fed up of listening to them. The voice grates on you.
Yep.
And every time you got to go to work, you're like, ugh, I got to go face that prat again.
I've got to be careful how I answer this because me and my wife own our own business and she's technically the boss. So I have to be very careful and say, in previous jobs, I know exactly what you're talking about.
I would like to think that you don't have to force yourself to say that. I'm kind of worried that you've brought that up at all. I think the fact, if you'd not said anything at this point, everyone would just assume all of us have had a job at some point. But the fact you've specifically brought up your wife when I was talking about bosses that piss you off is interesting to me.
Because this will be the one podcast that she decides to listen to.
And a point that when I send her this clip later, I think she'll agree with me. So it is. I think all of us can kind of go to that. So if, let's say you're working in an office and this guy's driving you insane, and then all of a sudden he's sacked and someone who comes in who actually knows what they're doing, is helpful, productive, you can talk to and listen, and they listen, and you feel like, oh, okay, all of a sudden work becomes a better place to be.
Yeah.
So I don't think transfer windows for managers can work for all the simple facts that it just... people, it just, if like you said then about the players have got to shoulder some blame. Well, if a manager's got a squad of players who can't play a system he's trying to influence, then the manager's at fault because you need to adapt.
You need to adapt to it. Yeah.
You as a team can go, right, I've brought this guy in because he plays a style of football I want, so I have to accept it's going to take him a while to get there, and we're going to have bad results because we need to work in every window to change the squad. You can make that decision, and you can communicate that to the fans. Say, look, this is going to take us a while, but trust us, we're on the right path.
Yep.
But then sack the poor bastard within a few weeks. It's like, actually, no, I needed you to win more than you did, which happens all the time.
Well, yeah.
You look at West Ham. David Moyes is not a fashionable modern coach in the sense of playing this way and that way. But in 4 seasons, he took West Ham into Europe and won a European competition. And yet they were so happy to be rid of him.
Yeah,
and
that
where
was
are they now?
mental still, though. Like, now
well, it is. Like, not for the first time they were happy to get rid of him to try and bring in this different style of football, foreign coach.
I mean, he's going to be back there in about 4 weeks.
Well,
they're all
it's
looking at
funny.
each other going, wait a minute.
He was being interviewed on the Overlap podcast, and one of them joked you should keep your phone on next to you. Yeah, I just, like, sometimes certain managers works for certain clubs and certain style of footballs and certain, like, you have to kind of, I don't know, like, delusions of grandeur. I think that's West Ham all over, though.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, so like I said, I don't. Yeah, it's an interesting one, really. It's kind
You're
of.
right. I don't think a transfer window for managers would work, but
No,
I
I just think if you imagine when Jose basically you remember Conte dang tools with Tottenham.
Oh, massively.
He just wanted to be sacked, and he was just going in the press conferences like, Daniel Levy's a bold prick, and it was like, oh, I can't fire him for 6 weeks. It's just like, what are you going to do then? So, yeah, I don't think that works. One of the things that sort of came up is about books and stuff like that, and so Hugo Lloris has written a book, and Hugo Lloris' extracts from his book have appeared in the newspapers the last few days. And of course they're being shared everywhere.
Wow. Yeah.
There's one thing that Hugo's talked about which he highlights as like a real negative, and he believes is a sign that Tottenham are never serious about winning anything. And that is on the eve of the Champions League final, about 3 or 4 days before, Daniel Levy gathered the whole squad, and a sponsor and the club had got them all very, very nice, expensive watches with 2019 Champions League finalists engraved on the watches. Now, Hugo Lloris, and he says Harry Kane and several other players took this as absolute bollocks. Like, who the hell cares about being a finalist? Now, I think the fan reaction to this story coming out has been just like Levy out, insanity, like absolute. This just proves the club doesn't care and all this kind of stuff. I'm going to try and be a bit balanced with this in the sense of I think all this proves, to me anyway, is again something which I already knew, which is Daniel Levy as a businessman and a CEO is excellent, but doesn't have a basic understanding of the kind of sporting mentality required, or the sportsman, the athlete mentality to win. Because if you take this as a business thing for a moment, he probably doesn't understand why people didn't like that.
He thinks he's just done a really he has managed to get a sponsor to come in and buy the entire squad a really expensive gift. Yeah. As a, God, guys, we've done it. Well done. Yeah. Fantastic. We are finalists. Amazing.
Yeah.
But, like you say, the sportsman side of it should have been a case of, right, half the job's done. Now we have to go win it.
So this for me is like, just like, I'm not even mad at him over this. Like, I just look at this and go, it's just an example that you don't understand that side of it, so please stay out of it. Yeah. And what is funny is now he isn't in it. So whether this was learning for him, maybe like that final and us losing it and what came after it, I think was a massive learning curve for the club in many ways. But Daniel Levy isn't involved in the football side of it to that extent anymore. He is still the chairman, and he probably still would think to himself, I don't understand why people hated that. And perhaps he's read this extract like, oh, okay, just trying to be nice, you ungrateful French prick.
Yeah.
Now, I'm going to say this because I got a lot of love for Hugo Lloris, and I am sure when I read this book, which I will, there will be a lot of Tottenham love in there, and there will be, I hope, a measured and balanced view on a lot of things. But I will point out that this guy got into a car so far over the legal limit, driving whilst being sick, could have murdered people that night, and the club stood by him when I, personally, would have sacked the bastard for that. You get into a car that drunk and drive, and you could kill people. He's lucky that no one got killed that night.
Oh, yeah, no, I completely agree with that. I remember that happening, and I was absolutely fuming about it. I was.
Yeah.
The fact that he remained as our captain and everything else that kind of went behind, like, he's still the captain, still going to play the next game.
Yeah.
I was fuming.
Yeah, I just... Look, no one's perfect. We all make mistakes. Some are bigger than others. And he held his hands up. He served his ban, driving ban. He did all the things he should do. My point is, he now coming out with, oh, this happened. I hope when I read this book there's a fair and balanced assessment of the fact that man he's so being critical of right now, handed him another contract after that, paid him as one of the best paid goalkeepers in Europe for 5 or 6 years at the club.
Yep.
He didn't understand that. Daniel, as a businessman, thought he was commemorating an achievement of getting to the first ever Champions League final. And if we'd won it, how do you know there wasn't going to be something else? Yep. If you win that final, like, there's your watch that says finalist, and here is this friggin' brand new Bentley with winner on the side. You're not going to know. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. You're not going to know. You're not going to know. And the reason why we're not going to know is because everyone in that final played like shit. And that's the reality. Now, Hugo says that the whole team got completely wiped out by that awful penalty decision. And I can understand that. I get it. But let's not hide behind the fact that, like, Daniel Levy gave them all a watch. And then after 30 seconds of a game going 1-0 down, they just gave up because they were like, oh, well, we got our watch. That's bollocks to me.
Yeah.
I feel like that is trying to shift the blame for a poor performance onto a nonsense. I completely get it from a sporting mentality point of view. Like, I don't care about being a finalist. I want to win. And if they'd won, that watch would be a pride of place. But because they didn't, which is on them, not Daniel Levy, that's now a factor. That's now a big thing. So it annoyed me, but then I remembered that when I want to sell a book, or anyone wants to sell a book, the shit you're going to release is the stuff that's going to drive conversation. And now, like a fucking idiot, I'm going to buy that book so I can read it
because we're going to read and see. Well, wait a minute. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, it's worked. Well done, Hugo, and your publishers. But I do think people need to be balanced about that. I do think people need to realise that Daniel Levy was acting as a CEO businessman, and I think that was an error. I think it was an error in judgment. I think he should have held off and, waited, or maybe just handed it all to him with no engraving. Whatever. It was a mistake, but not a mistake I think that was malicious. Not a mistake that I think was set out to be like, yay, we've achieved this. I don't care about anything else. I don't think that was it. If you want to point to a decision Daniel Levy made, which I feel was a direct impact on winning something, it was sacking Jose the week of a final.
Oh, God, yeah.
Like that as a decision made by Daniel Levy was directly impacted. Buying everyone in the club a fancy watch? No. So I think this was, the purple and gold brigade are out ready with their pitchforks. But for me, it's just an example of him not understanding that aspect of things. But now Scott Munn operates that side of the club. So it's not going to happen again. Whether that's a lesson learned or whether that's just a natural evolution that's happened, I don't know. But it's not something that would happen again. So we move on.
Yeah, we move on and up we go and on we go sort of thing, don't we? Yeah.
Galatasaray, we lost 3-2, our first defeat in the Europa League as it is this season. We got fucking battered.
Is it the first time though, that we've actually lost a game and gone, well, that scoreline flattered us?
Do you know what? I don't think it is the first time I felt that, but I do feel that last night. I think at one point, I put in our chat, when we went 1-0 down, I said this could be a long night. And then I think you echoed that as 3-1 down.
This is going to be a very long night.
This is going to be a long night. Because at that moment, I thought this could be 7, 8. And I think the thing that frustrates me now the most is they weren't that good. Like, they pressed well. They were very full of energy early on. The crowd were very hostile, which we knew they would be. But we just kept giving them the ball.
Oh,
just
mate,
like,
constant,
here you go.
like, our passing was just absolutely diabolical.
So, at the end of the game now, a thing for this season I'm doing, which people seem to quite like, is I will post the stats and I will put a thing about final thoughts and stuff like that. Now, I've not read the final thoughts yet because that's always a car crash for me, so I like to pour a whiskey first before reading them. but the stats made me laugh because the stats showed a pass completion percentage higher than I thought it should be. It was like 79% or something, which still isn't great for us, but I was like, nah, I'm not buying that. No way on this earth. So, would you like to hear something funny?
Go on.
So, stats, obviously, over the course of a game can change because of periods in the game. So, like, if you start, let's say, the whole of first half, we don't complete more than 2 passes, but then in the second half, we complete thousands, that percentage will be bumped up.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That makes sense. So, prior to Kulusevski and then Bentancur being introduced,
yep,
our pass completion percentage was what?
Oh, Jesus Christ. From having watched the game, I'd say about 55%.
You are too high.
Oh, jeez.
We were at 43%.
Oh, wow. Like, I know we were sloppy, but jeez.
So the impact those two had, and it is like literally you look at it, the Bentancur came on and completed more passes than anyone on the pitch with 100% accuracy, and Kulusevski with like something like 90 something and passed loads. The impact that they made, because they are Ange ball players, calm, good on the ball. Obviously, you would say that the opposition tired, and you could see that, but we also went down to 10 men, and those two absolutely dominated the game.
Yeah.
They had 10 days to prepare. They'd not had a game for 10 days. They were fresh. That was their strongest side at home, and we only lost the game 3-2. I genuinely think sometimes you have to go, all right, and move on. And I said this last night in our group chat, and I'm going to say it on this podcast for posterity. If we play well and we beat Ipswich this weekend, I am fine with that result. I think the experience for Gray, Bergvall, who really struggled, but the experience of that struggle, Lancashire, scored a goal, sent off. That is going to be a night he's going to remember for the rest of his life.
And
for just insane, yeah.
Yeah.
It's like insane for him.
The worst bit with his sending off was he got tackled, screamed at the ref that it was a foul, and as soon as I saw him go running towards the player with the ball, my head went, that's a red card.
Oh, yeah, it was
guaranteed.
Yeah,
he's getting either a straight... I completely forgot he'd already been yellow carded. Yeah. I was like, this is a red card. This is...
Yeah, he's off. Yeah. Now, I said in the group chat, and I will say it here, I genuinely feel Lancashire was let down by Ange in this. Now, this is going to sound like I'm scapegoating him a little bit because he's an academy player, and maybe I am. But I think when a player is playing and he's a youngster in that kind of atmosphere, in that kind of cauldron, and he's been booked, I think you got to keep an eye on what's going on. And for about 5 or 10 minutes, you could see how frustrated he was, shouting at the ref. He was getting manhandled by a defender, pushing him, getting wound up. He should have been taken off. Now I know in Ange's head he's thinking, in an ideal world, I won't bring Solanke onto this game because I brought Richie on to get a run out in the last game and he did his hamstring. I am right now thinking if I can go this game and not have to bring Dom on, great. But then we go down to 10 men and he's got to bring Dom on, and at 10 men it meant he had to come on and work even harder. So I think perhaps a learning curve for the player. I think perhaps Ange also has got to bear a little bit of responsibility there. I think we should have been more proactive with get him off. Even if you'd swapped him with, even if you didn't want to bring Dom on at that point, perhaps just protect the young player. Like, drag him off, and then in the video analysis after the game, go, look, we took you off because of this. What have you learned?
Yeah.
I think it's a bit sad for him.
You won't cut, yeah, right, I've learned.
Yeah. Don't shout, "Are you blind, you fucking idiot," and then go and kick someone, and the ref goes, "No, I'm not blind." Yellow, red, goodbye. I felt for him because he made a mistake that we have all seen young players make.
Yeah.
I remember, this is not comparing them ability-wise, but I remember watching Wayne Rooney at 16 or 17, and I think he burst onto the scene, and then he got this red card where he literally, like, someone, like, kept needling him. I can't remember who it was, and he turned around and booted him up in the air and just started walking, like, yeah, fuck it.
Yeah, I know
that's red. Yeah, I know that's red coming, but I don't care. And I remember at the time thinking to myself, yeah, that's a fiery bastard. I like him.
Yeah, he's going to be good. Yeah.
Yeah, I like him. Yeah. So I don't hate someone being that fiery, that kind of thing, but you've got to learn, especially in Europe. European refs are far more likely to send you off immediately. So, yeah. But again, like I said, if we beat Ipswich and we play well, I think as a fan base, we can look at that result in Galatasaray and kind of put it in a context, put it in a box of they'd have learnt a lot from that. That atmosphere, like Bergvall really, for me, kind of shrank.
Yeah, he didn't kind of step up how we know he can.
No. But again, I think now there's going to be video analysis. He can reflect on it. I think the experience of that's huge. I think Gray really stood up. I mean, I know we're playing him all over the place, and I know he is getting minutes constantly. You know, he's come from the Championship into, literally that stadium's called hell. Welcome to hell. Yeah. He has stepped out into that. He must now look at that and go, ooh, any stadium I go to in England, yeah, I'm fine. I don't care what they chant.
Bring on Anfield, like that. I don't care.
Yeah. Nothing's going to compare. Like, I am confident stepping onto the pitch in a position completely alien to me against, like, top opposition. And they are a good side. Look at the players they've got in a forward. Like, they are a good side. They were fully rested, fully prepared for us. They'd had 10 days. And I think because they've not been playing as much, that's why they look tired towards the end. And I think game management, from our point of view, should have been just stay in the game, don't give away anything. And that probably was the idea, like, don't lose the ball stupidly. And again, this comes back to this whole thing, like, what the fuck are we doing? Ange puts the players out there, like, this is how we play, this is how we train, this is what we do. He cannot magically make them, like, move the ball quicker or move the pass more accurately.
No.
I will say that if you're asking Fraser Forster to play this way, you are asking for trouble, though. I will say that. I do think that is silly.
Gotta say, credit to Forster made some ridiculous saves. He did really much, and he proved, he is still a good
But that's his job.
Like, you can't doubt that. The problem is, like you say, he is not a goalkeeper who is going to spray passes around the park.
No.
He is a goalkeeper where either he has a centre-back 5 yards from him and he passes the ball to them, or he's lumping it down for the forward to get.
Yeah, I think in game, I think you can want to play a certain way all you want and stuff like that, but sometimes you have to recognise, okay, their press is on us. And what's interesting is this past week, Joe Hart, who wasn't a goalkeeper who played it out from the back, was the reason he was booted out of Man City, etc., was because of that. Played for Ange at Celtic and played the role of playing it out from the back. Played this exact role. And he explained on this interview that Ange just opened his mind to it by making it really simple to him, of like, playing it out from the back is not you doing Cruyff turns and having to be like this incredible player. It's about looking up and recognising this is the way we build, this is what we do. And he said, I completely understood what he wanted. It was so clear in his messaging. So I've got no doubt that he is clear in his messaging to Forster as well, of like, look, if there isn't anywhere you can pass it, then that ball goes, like, let it go. But I also think there's an element of some of the players in that side, I think last night let each other down. I think Dragusin took too long on the ball on several occasions. I think a reason he was doing that was because the midfielders weren't showing for the ball. Bergvall shrank. He vanished. He just kind of didn't. And what's most disappointing is I feel like Maddison did as well. Like, I wanted Maddison to stand up, Son to stand up. These senior players needed to be bigger to help everyone else.
They're the ones you look to in these sort of, like I say, these sort of environments. It's those experienced team leaders that you need to be looking at and going, right, okay, what are you gonna do to help me?
Yeah. I tell you, worked his ass off, and I don't think he'll get the credit, was Basuma. He worked his ass off to show for the ball constantly and to try and bring the ball out, like in a kind of Dembele role of, right, I'll take it, give me the ball, I'll take it.
Yep.
And he looked fucked by the end of the game. Like, he looked like a guy who like ran through walls that entire match, and he did. So I can't credit him enough, but the difference when Bentancur came on was immeasurable. He showed for the ball constantly and was calm. Like, an element of a good player, they always seem to have time. And he came on and just passed it. Everything was done, and like the defenders suddenly had an out. And suddenly, Dragusin and Davis looked better. Do you know what I mean by that? Like, all of a sudden, they looked like they were coping.
Yeah.
Whereas up until that point, they were being ripped apart all over the place. And I think it's easy to dive on the players and go, oh, they were shite, they were this, they were that. But sometimes when you play a certain system, you've got to look to others to help you. And like, the defender's going to get blamed, and Dragusin probably will get blamed. But I do think when you're playing this way and the whole system is, okay, it comes to me and then I pass it to someone else, and that someone else isn't there, they're not making themselves available, you are going to dwell on the ball. You are going to get stuck and caught and stuff because your out ball, the person you're supposed to be giving it to, ain't there.
You've not got anyone to pass to, so all of a sudden
exactly,
you're like, oh, wait a minute, this isn't going to work.
And then the indecision kicks in, and then they're on you, and of course that encourages them. And I think the thing we need to learn is at that point, when that's happened a few times, just dink it over the top of them a few times, because then they'll have to drop off, because then they won't know what to do. And I think the first team are getting that. Like, you see the first team do that more when they're getting high pressed. Like, okay, well, fine, we'll go over the top of you then. Solanke's brilliant at like this sort of, just chip the ball to me, guys. I got it.
Oh, yes.
Deck is the same. So, overall, I mean, it's mad. That game could have finished 3-3. I think on a different day, Decky scores that, where the keeper, I think on a different day, he scores that. In fact, I was amazed he didn't hit the target. I genuinely thought he was going to score. Which, when you consider how far out he was and the pressure he was under, is a bit mad.
I was saying, like, if there was one player you want that ball to drop to in that situation.
Yeah. Would have been Pedro Mendes. No, Decky. I fully backed him to score, which is mad. If you look at it, that was mad. But yeah, so that game could have been 3-3, which is nuts. But we wouldn't have deserved it. But that's football for you. So I guess it was frustrating. I don't think it was horrific. I don't, like, when I've calmed down, because sometimes in the moment I'm pissed off. And when I've kind of calmed down, I'm like, do you know what, in the context of everything, when you look at the fact that we're having to rotate the side in and out and people were playing all over the place and people just didn't play well, you can put it down to the atmosphere there, you can put it down to the travel, fixture congestion, whatever. As long as we play well and smash Ipswich at the weekend, I think this result's fine. I think if we now lose to Ipswich ahead of an international break again, I'm going to be feeling homicidal. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, I completely understand and agree with what you're saying. Like, we need to now put this behind us. We need to build on from the Aston Villa game.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, it needs to be, okay, our last game was 4-1 win over Villa. We now need to back that up by beating Ipswich, play well, and then we got the international break again. So it is Ipswich next. It is then an international break. Well done to Dominic Solanke, who's made the England squad again. Deservedly so this time, definitely, I think. I think his form is brilliant, and he's, exceptional player. Much better than any other English striker.
He's
so
scoring against real clubs.
Exactly. He's not in a farmers league. So yeah, that's our show. That's everything. Was there anything else you want to chat about this week?
Racking my brain. I don't think so.
No, I think we're good. So that was it. That was episode 251. Thank you everybody for listening, continuing to stick with us. We'll be back very soon. We might have a week off for the international break. Keep an eye on social medias. I'll let you know. It all greatly depends on how much happens. Because in this mad world of Tottenham Hotspur, for all we know, one of the players could get drunk and go driving. One of the players could, be playing with balloons. The manager could suddenly quit because he wants to go home to Australia. We never know with this club. Something mad could happen, and we will be here. Yeah. But if everything's calm and everything's chilled out, then we might take a week off. But like I said, keep an eye on the socials. We'll let you know. But until next week, everybody, you all take care.
And come on, you Spurs.
Thank you for listening to the Spurs News Podcast. We hope that you enjoyed the show. Stay up to date with all things Tottenham. Follow us on social media. All links are in the podcast description.